vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across an endless velvet canvas, there existed a planet known as Xyura. It was a world unlike any other, shimmering with hues of violet and gold under twin suns that bathed its surface in perpetual twilight. The air hummed with energy, charged by the vibrant flora and fauna that thrived in this alien paradise. Among the many wonders of Xyura was its royal family, rulers who had governed their people for millennia with wisdom and grace. And at the heart of it all stood Princess Xyura, the most radiant being to ever grace the galaxy. Xyura's beauty was legendary, not just among her own kind but throughout neighboring star systems. Her skin glowed faintly, as though infused with stardust, and her eyes, large, luminous orbs of shifting silver, seemed to hold entire galaxies within them. She moved with an elegance that could silence even the noisiest crowd, and her laughter was said to be so melodic it could calm raging storms. Yet beneath her ethereal exterior lay a fierce intelligence and a compassionate soul. Though she lived in luxury, shielded from the harsh realities of life beyond the palace walls, Xyura yearned for something more. A purpose greater than ruling a kingdom or attending lavish galas. Her opportunity came sooner than she expected. On Xyura, tradition dictated that every royal heir must choose a mate before ascending to the throne. This ancient custom ensured stability and unity among the clans, binding disparate factions through marriage alliances. But for Xyura, the idea of choosing someone purely out of obligation felt suffocating. She wanted love, passion, adventure, not a calculated partnership designed to appease political agendas. Still, duty called, and on her 25th birthday, the Council of Elders announced that the time had come for her to select her consort. The ceremony was set to take place during the Festival of Lumina, a grand celebration held once every decade when the twin suns aligned perfectly over the capital city. Representatives from every corner of Xyura would gather, each hoping to present a worthy candidate for the princess's consideration. Warriors, scholars, artists, and diplomats all vied for her attention, eager to prove themselves deserving of such an honor. As the day approached, excitement rippled through the populace, mingled with whispers of intrigue and speculation. Who would Xyura choose? Would she defy convention entirely? Unbeknownst to anyone, fate had already begun weaving its intricate web. Far away from Xyura, on a desolate outpost orbiting a dying star, Captain Elias Drake prepared for what he believed would be another routine patrol mission. A human soldier stationed aboard the Interstellar Defense Fleet, Elias had spent years traversing the far reaches of space, protecting colonies and trade routes from pirates and rogue factions. His life was one of discipline and solitude, shaped by loss and sacrifice. With piercing blue eyes that mirrored the skies of his homeworld and a rugged face marked by scars earned in battle, Elias embodied resilience. He carried himself with quiet confidence, earning respect from comrades and adversaries alike. Elias's journey to becoming a soldier wasn't born of ambition but necessity. Raised on a struggling colony ravaged by resource wars, he joined the fleet seeking refuge and meaning. Over time, he rose through the ranks, driven by a desire to protect those unable to defend themselves. Despite his stoic demeanor, Elias harbored dreams of finding peace someday, a place where he could leave behind the chaos of war and forge connections deeper than camaraderie. Little did he know how close destiny was to granting him that wish. On the eve of the Festival of Lumina, a distress signal reached Elias's ship. A mysterious vessel had crash-landed near Xyura's borders, emitting erratic energy readings. Orders came swiftly: investigate and neutralize any potential threat. What started as a simple reconnaissance mission soon spiraled into something far more extraordinary. As Elias descended onto Xyloran soil, little did he realize that his arrival coincided with events destined to alter both his life and the fate of an entire civilization. The Festival of Lumina unfolded with breathtaking splendor, transforming the capital city into a kaleidoscope of light and sound. Streets were adorned with floating lanterns that cast shimmering reflections on crystal pavements, while musicians played haunting melodies that echoed off towering spires. Crowds gathered in anticipation, their faces painted with intricate designs symbolizing hope, prosperity, and unity. For the people of Xyura, this day was sacred, a moment when dreams collided with destiny. Princess Xyura stood atop the grand terrace, draped in flowing robes spun from threads of liquid starlight. Around her neck hung the amulet of Eternus, a relic imbued with the power to discern truth and purity of heart. Tradition demanded that she wear it during the ceremony, allowing her to sense the essence of each suitor who approached. Beneath its weight, however, Xyura felt only dread. Her gaze swept across the sea of hopeful faces below, each one eager to win her favor. Among them were warriors clad in gleaming armor, poets reciting verses of devotion, and dignitaries bearing gifts of rare gemstones and exotic perfumes. Yet none stirred her heart. As the procession began, suitors stepped forward one by one, bowing low before her. Each made their case, some with eloquent speeches, others with displays of strength or artistry. A burly general demonstrated his prowess by splitting a boulder with his bare hands, while a renowned painter unveiled a portrait of Xyura so lifelike it seemed to breathe. Despite their efforts, the princess remained unmoved. Her thoughts drifted elsewhere, to distant stars and uncharted worlds, where freedom beckoned instead of confinement. It was then that chaos erupted. A deafening roar split the air as a massive creature burst through the gates, its scales glistening like molten gold. Panic rippled through the crowd as the beast charged toward the terrace, its fiery breath scorching the ground beneath its feet. Guards rushed to intercept, but their weapons proved futile against its impenetrable hide. Amidst the pandemonium, a lone figure emerged, Captain Elias Drake, armed with nothing but his wits and a plasma rifle. Elias hadn't intended to crash the festival. After investigating the crashed vessel, he discovered remnants of advanced technology suggesting sabotage. Before he could report back, alarms blared, signaling an unauthorized breach. Without hesitation, he followed protocol, tracking the disturbance to the source. What he found was beyond anything he'd encountered before. A living weapon unleashed upon unsuspecting civilians. With precision honed by years of combat, Elias fired a series of shots aimed at the creature's weak points. Sparks flew as the bullets ricocheted harmlessly, forcing him to rethink his strategy. Thinking quickly, he leaped onto a nearby platform, using its height to gain momentum. With a running start, he vaulted onto the creature's back, gripping its jagged ridges as it bucked violently. The crowd watched in awe as the human soldier wrestled the beast into submission, finally plunging a makeshift spear into its vulnerable eye socket. With a final, earth-shaking roar, the creature collapsed, defeated. Breathing heavily, Elias turned to face the stunned audience. His uniform was singed, his body bruised, but his resolve unshaken. That's when he saw her, Princess Xyura, standing regally amidst the turmoil, her silver eyes locked onto his. Time seemed to freeze as their gazes met, a silent understanding passing between them. In that instant, Elias forgot about orders, missions, and everything else. All that mattered was the woman before him, whose presence radiated warmth despite the chaos surrounding them. When the dust settled and the cheers subsided, the Council of Elders urged Xyura to resume the ceremony. Suitors lined up once more, though now their bravado seemed diminished compared to the heroism displayed by the stranger. One by one, they presented themselves, yet Xyura's mind kept returning to the man who had saved countless lives without hesitation. When it came time for her decision, the princess hesitated, not because she was unsure, but because she knew the implications of her choice would reverberate far beyond the confines of the festival. Finally, she raised her hand, pointing directly at Elias. Gasps rippled through the crowd as murmurs of disbelief turned into outright protest. How could she choose a human outsider over her own people? The council members exchanged uneasy glances, their expressions a mix of shock and disapproval. But Xyura stood firm, her voice steady as she declared, "He is the one." For Elias, the proclamation hit like a meteor strike. Confusion warred with disbelief as guards escorted him to the terrace, where Xyura awaited. Up close, she was even more mesmerizing than he'd imagined, her presence commanding yet gentle. "Why me?" he asked, his tone laced with incredulity. Xyura smiled softly, her words carrying the weight of conviction. "Because you acted without fear, without expectation. You showed courage and selflessness, qualities I value above all else." Before either could say more, the atmosphere shifted. Whispers grew louder, protests escalated, and suddenly, the festival descended into chaos anew. The council demanded answers, suitors shouted accusations, and somewhere in the distance, alarms began to blare once more. Whatever peace had briefly settled over the scene dissolved into uncertainty, leaving Elias and Xyura standing together amidst the storm, bound by a choice neither fully understood, yet both knew would change everything. The aftermath of Xyura's declaration sent shockwaves through Xyura, rippling outward like ripples in a cosmic pond. The festival grounds, once alive with joy and anticipation, now buzzed with tension thick enough to cut with a blade. The council members convened hastily, their voices rising in heated debate as they questioned the validity of the princess's choice. A human? An outsider? Elder Valen exclaimed, slamming his fist on the marble table. This is unprecedented. Unacceptable. Others nodded in agreement, though a few exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the gravity of defying their future ruler. Meanwhile, the rejected suitors seethed with indignation. Some stormed off, muttering threats under their breath, while others lingered, plotting ways to undermine the decision. Among them was Lord Kalen, a formidable warrior with ambitions as sharp as his blade. Clad in obsidian armor etched with runes of power, he had been confident of victory until Elias's unexpected heroics stole the spotlight. Now his pride burned like a supernova, fueling a dangerous resolve. She cannot do this, he growled to his loyal followers. If she will not choose wisely, then we must ensure her mistake does not destabilize our world. As the political machinations unfolded, Elias found himself thrust into a whirlwind of scrutiny and suspicion. Escorting him to the palace, guards treated him with a mixture of curiosity and hostility. Inside the opulent halls, servants whispered behind veiled hands, their eyes darting toward the scruffy human who dared step into their sacred traditions. Even Leora's closest confidants regarded him warily, unsure whether to trust the stranger who had captured their princess's favor. Yet amidst the chaos, moments of levity emerged. When presented with traditional Xyloran attire, a flowing robe embroidered with constellations, Elias struggled to navigate the elaborate fastenings. Is this supposed to make me look less ridiculous? He quipped, tugging at the fabric. Leora laughed, her melodic voice cutting through the tension like sunlight breaking through clouds. You look distinguished, she teased, though her eyes sparkled with genuine amusement. For a fleeting moment, the weight of their circumstances lifted, replaced by the simple pleasure of shared laughter. But humor offered only temporary relief. As night fell over the palace, shadows crept along its corridors, carrying whispers of dissent. A group of insurgents, emboldened by Kalen's rhetoric, plotted to seize control. They believed that removing the human interloper would restore order, and perhaps grant them leverage over the princess. Armed with stealth technology stolen from the crashed vessel Elias had investigated earlier, they infiltrated the palace undetected, slipping past guards lulled into complacency by the illusion of safety. Unaware of the danger closing in, Elias and Leora sat together in a secluded garden, discussing their vastly different worlds. Underneath a canopy of bioluminescent flowers, they shared stories of their lives, the battles fought, the losses endured, the hopes nurtured. Elias spoke of Earth's sprawling cities and untamed wilderness, painting vivid pictures of humanity's resilience. Leora countered with tales of Xylora's ancient customs and celestial wonders, describing festivals where citizens danced beneath cascading auroras. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, bridging the gap between species and cultures. Suddenly, the tranquility shattered. A shrill alarm pierced the air, followed by shouts echoing through the palace. Instantly alert, Elias sprang to his feet, scanning the surroundings for signs of trouble. Stay close, he ordered, instinctively positioning himself between Leora and whatever threat loomed ahead. Moments later, figures clad in dark cloaks materialized from the shadows, their weapons glowing ominously. Hand over the human, one of them snarled, advancing menacingly. He has no place here. Without hesitation, Elias stepped forward, his stance unwavering. You'll have to go through me first. The ensuing clash was swift and brutal. Using tactics honed in countless skirmishes, Elias disarmed 2 attackers before grabbing a fallen weapon to fend off the rest. Sparks flew as energy blasts ricocheted off stone pillars, illuminating the garden in bursts of light. Despite being outnumbered, Elias fought with ferocious determination, driven by the need to protect the woman who had placed her faith in him. Leora, meanwhile, refused to remain passive. Drawing upon latent abilities unique to her lineage, she summoned a barrier of shimmering energy, deflecting incoming attacks and buying Elias precious seconds. Her actions astonished even herself. Though trained in diplomacy and governance, she had never tapped into her full potential until now. Together, they formed an unlikely duo, blending human ingenuity with alien mysticism to hold their ground. Just as reinforcements arrived, led by loyal guards alerted by the alarm, Elias delivered a decisive blow, incapacitating the leader of the insurgents. Breathing heavily, he turned to Leora, who stood beside him, her expression a mix of awe and gratitude. "I told you I'd keep you safe," he said, offering a weary grin. She smiled back, her silver eyes reflecting admiration, and something deeper, something neither dared name yet. Though the immediate threat had been neutralized, the incident underscored the challenges ahead. Word of the attack spread quickly, igniting further unrest among the populace. While some hailed Elias as a protector of the realm, others viewed him as a catalyst for division. Protests erupted in the streets, with factions calling for either his expulsion or acceptance. The council grew increasingly divided, torn between upholding tradition and adapting to unforeseen circumstances. Amidst the turmoil, Elias and Xyura found solace in each other's company. Late at night, when the palace grew quiet, they wandered through hidden passageways, sharing secrets and dreams. Elias confessed his fears of inadequacy, worried that he might fail her or her people. Xyura reassured him, her voice soft but firm. "You've already proven yourself braver than anyone I know," she said. "The rest we'll figure out together." Their bond deepened with every passing day, transcending barriers of culture and circumstance. Yet challenges loomed larger than ever. Rumors swirled of external forces manipulating events from afar, seeking to exploit Xyura's instability for their own gain. Lord Kalen, embittered by failure, disappeared from public view, rumored to be amassing allies for a renewed bid at power. The days that followed were a delicate balancing act for both Elias and Xyura. While the immediate threat had been neutralized, the political storm brewing within Xyura showed no signs of abating. The council convened repeatedly, their debates growing increasingly heated. Some elders argued that Princess Xyura's decision to choose a human mate was an affront to tradition and endangered the stability of their realm. Others, swayed by Elias's bravery and Xyura's unwavering conviction, began to question whether clinging to ancient customs might hinder progress rather than preserve it. Elias found himself caught in the crossfire. Summoned daily before the council, he endured relentless questioning about his intentions, his past, and his suitability as a consort. He answered honestly, his straightforward demeanor earning him cautious respect from some but outright disdain from others. "I'm not here to claim your throne or disrupt your way of life," he said during one particularly tense session. "All I want is to protect the people who've shown me kindness, and maybe find a place where I belong." His words resonated with a few members, particularly Elder Serene, an enigmatic woman known for her wisdom and progressive thinking. She saw something in Elias, a quiet strength tempered by humility, that reminded her of the qualities needed to lead in uncertain times. Yet even she couldn't ignore the mounting pressure from those opposed to the union. "You must prove yourself, Captain Drake," she told him privately after one meeting. "Not just as a warrior, but as a leader. Show them you are worthy of standing beside our princess." Meanwhile, Xyura faced challenges of her own. Her choice had ignited fierce backlash among certain factions, including influential clans who feared losing power if a human became part of the royal lineage. Lord Kalen, though absent from public view, remained a shadowy presence, rallying support behind closed doors. Rumors spread of secret meetings held under the cover of darkness, whispers of rebellion stirring like embers, ready to ignite into flames. Determined to quell the unrest, Xyura embarked on a tour of Xyura's provinces, accompanied by Elias and a small entourage. It was a bold move designed to connect directly with her people, bypassing the filters of court politics. In each region they visited, she listened intently to their concerns, addressing grievances and offering solutions. Elias, ever vigilant, stood at her side, earning admiration for his protective instincts and genuine interest in understanding Xyloran culture. Their journey took them to breathtaking landscapes, from crystalline forests that hummed with energy to floating islands suspended above shimmering seas. Along the way, Elias marveled at the planet's wonders, often finding himself awestruck by its beauty. Xyura delighted in sharing these experiences with him, watching as his initial wariness gave way to wonder. One evening, as they gazed at twin suns setting in a blaze of colors, she reached for his hand. "This is what I wanted," she said softly, "to show you there's more to this world than duty and danger." But even amidst moments of peace, danger lurked nearby. During a visit to a remote mining colony, an explosion rocked the facility, sending workers fleeing in panic. Smoke billowed into the air as alarms blared, and chaos erupted. Without hesitation, Elias sprang into action, directing evacuations while searching for survivors trapped beneath rubble. Xyura joined him, using her innate abilities to stabilize weakened structures and shield injured miners from further harm. As they worked together, their synergy became undeniable. Where Elias relied on practicality and quick reflexes, Xyura brought intuition and ethereal power. Together, they saved countless lives, their teamwork inspiring awe among witnesses. Word of their efforts spread quickly, turning skeptics into supporters. For the first time, many began to see the potential in their partnership, not merely as rulers, but as symbols of unity between species. Yet triumph came at a cost. As they left the colony, exhaustion etched deep lines into their faces. Back aboard their transport ship, they collapsed into seats, too drained to speak. Finally, Elias broke the silence. "We can't keep doing this alone," he admitted. "There's too much working against us." Xyura nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Then we need allies. People willing to stand with us, no matter the risk." It wasn't long before unexpected help arrived. Elder Serene approached them secretly, revealing information about a clandestine network of reformists within the council. These individuals, disillusioned by the stagnation of traditionalist policies, believed change was necessary for Xylora's survival. They offered their support, promising resources and influence to aid Xyura and Elias's cause. Encouraged by this development, the pair devised a plan to address the growing unrest head-on. Returning to the capital, they called for a grand assembly, an open forum where citizens could voice their opinions without fear of retribution. The event drew thousands, filling the grand hall to capacity. As Xyura addressed the crowd, her voice carried both authority and vulnerability. "I chose Elias not because I sought to defy tradition, but because I saw in him qualities I admire: courage, integrity, and a desire to serve something greater than himself. If you doubt my judgment, then judge him based on his actions, not his origins." Elias followed her speech, speaking plainly and honestly. He acknowledged his outsider status but emphasized his commitment to Xylora's future. "I may not be one of you," he said, "but I will fight for you, as I have fought for others in need. Let us build bridges instead of walls." The response was mixed. Some cheered, moved by their sincerity. Others jeered, unwilling to abandon deeply ingrained prejudices. But the tide was slowly shifting. Allies emerged from unexpected quarters, including former suitors who recognized the futility of resistance. Among them was Aaron, a poet whose verses now celebrated unity rather than rivalry. "Perhaps love knows no boundaries," he mused aloud, earning nods of agreement from those around him. Still, opposition remained formidable. Lord Kalen resurfaced, leading a faction determined to overthrow the princess and install himself as ruler. His forces launched coordinated attacks on key infrastructure, aiming to destabilize the government and turn public sentiment against Xyura. Each strike forced Elias and Xyura to adapt, relying on their combined strengths to counteract the threats. One night, as they strategized in a secure chamber, a servant burst in with urgent news. Kalen's army was marching toward the palace, intent on seizing control. Time was running out. Armed with resolve and newfound alliances, Elias and Xyura prepared for the battle ahead, knowing the fate of Xylora and their future together hung precariously in the balance. Under the glow of Xylora's twin moons, the palace grounds transformed into a battlefield. Shadows danced across the crystalline spires as Kalen's forces advanced, their weapons gleaming with malevolent intent. Inside, Elias and Xyura stood shoulder to shoulder, flanked by loyal guards and a coalition of unlikely allies. Reformist elders, former rivals turned comrades, and ordinary citizens inspired by their leadership. The air crackled with tension, anticipation hanging heavy like storm clouds before lightning strikes. "We can hold them off," Elias said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. He glanced at Xyura, whose silver eyes burned with determination. "But we'll need every advantage we can get." Xyura nodded, her hands glowing faintly as she summoned her latent powers. "Then let's give them everything we've got." The first wave of attackers breached the outer walls, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts that shattered ornate windows and scorched marble floors. Chaos erupted as defenders retaliated, forming a defensive line to protect the inner sanctum. Elias led the charge, his movements precise and calculated, years of military training guiding his every step. With each swing of his plasma blade, he carved through enemy ranks, his focus unshakable. Beside him, Xyura wielded her abilities with grace and precision, erecting barriers to shield their allies and launching bursts of radiant energy to incapacitate foes. Their coordination was seamless, a testament to the bond forged through shared trials. When Elias faltered, momentarily overwhelmed by sheer numbers, Xyura intervened, her powers creating a vortex that scattered enemies like leaves in a gale. And when exhaustion threatened to weaken her, Elias stepped forward, shielding her with his body and urging her onward. Together, they became an unstoppable force, their unity striking fear into the hearts of their adversaries. Yet Kalen was far from defeated. From atop a commandeered hovercraft, he surveyed the scene with cold calculation, his obsidian armor reflecting the fiery chaos below. "You think your little display of heroics will save you?" he bellowed, his voice amplified by technology. "Xyura deserves a ruler who understands its true strength, not some half-breed alliance." His taunt elicited cheers from his followers, bolstering their morale. But it also ignited a spark of defiance among Elias and Xyura's supporters. Aaron, the poet-turned-ally, stepped forward, reciting a verse that silenced the crowd. "Courage is not born of bloodlines, but of hearts that dare to dream beyond borders." His words resonated deeply, rallying the defenders and strengthening their resolve. Kalen, infuriated by the interruption, unleashed his ultimate weapon, a massive mechanical construct powered by stolen alien technology. Towering over the battlefield, the machine lumbered forward, its limbs bristling with cannons and claws. Panic rippled through the defenders as it unleashed a devastating volley, forcing them to retreat. "We can't let it reach the palace," Elias shouted, already sprinting toward the behemoth. Xyura followed close behind, her mind racing with strategies. As they approached, Elias hurled a series of explosive charges at the machine's legs, attempting to immobilize it. Sparks flew, but the construct shrugged off the damage, its reinforced plating rendering conventional tactics ineffective. "It's drawing energy from somewhere," Xyura realized, her senses attuned to the strange vibrations emanating from the wreckage of the crashed vessel. "If we disable the source, we might stop it." Without hesitation, Elias agreed. "Lead the way. I've got your back." They fought their way through waves of enemy soldiers, dodging blasts and leaping over debris. Along the way, they encountered unexpected assistance. Elder Serene, wielding a staff imbued with ancient magic, and a group of rogue engineers who had sabotaged parts of Kalen's fleet. Together, they carved a path to the crash site, where the remnants of the mysterious vessel pulsed with unstable energy. Inside the wreckage, they discovered a core module linked to the construct via a tangle of cables and conduits. Xyura placed her hands on the device, channeling her powers to disrupt its flow. The effort strained her, sweat beading on her forehead as tendrils of light snaked between her fingers. Elias guarded her fiercely, fending off attackers with relentless ferocity. Just as the core began to destabilize, Kalen appeared, his sword raised high. "You've meddled enough," he roared, lunging at Elias. The two clashed, exchanging blows with brutal intensity. Despite his skill, Elias struggled against Kalen's augmented strength, the Lord's armor enhancing his speed and power. Blood trickled down Elias's temple, but he refused to yield, driven by the knowledge that failure would mean doom for everyone he cared about. In the heat of the duel, Xyura completed her task. With a final surge of energy, she severed the connection, causing the construct to collapse in a shower of sparks. Simultaneously, the rest of Kalen's forces wavered, their leader's defeat sapping their momentum. Seizing the opportunity, the defenders rallied, pushing back the invaders with renewed vigor. Defeated and cornered, Kalen attempted to flee, only to be confronted by Elder Serene and her cadre of reformists. "Your reign of ambition ends here," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. Kalen surrendered reluctantly, his dreams of conquest crumbling like sandcastles washed away by the tide. As dawn broke over Xyura, the battle-weary survivors gathered in the palace courtyard. Cheers erupted as news of victory spread, echoing through the halls and streets alike. Though battered and bruised, Elias and Xyura stood tall, their bond stronger than ever. Hand in hand, they addressed the crowd, pledging to rebuild what had been broken and forge a brighter future for all. In the weeks following the battle, Xyura began to heal. The scars of conflict were still visible: charred walls, shattered spires, and fields marked by the remnants of war. But so too were signs of renewal. Citizens worked side by side, rebuilding their homes and communities with a spirit of unity that had been absent for generations. The victory over Kalen's forces had not only thwarted rebellion but also ignited a sense of hope among the people. For the first time in years, Conversations centered on progress rather than division. Elias and Xyura became symbols of this newfound optimism. Their partnership, once met with skepticism and hostility, now inspired admiration. Stories of their bravery spread far beyond Xylora's borders, reaching neighboring star systems and sparking curiosity about the human-alien alliance. Diplomatic envoys arrived from distant planets, eager to learn more about the couple who had defied convention to bring peace to their world. Even the most ardent critics within the council softened their stance, recognizing the strength of Xyura's leadership and Elias's unwavering dedication. As stability returned, preparations began for the royal wedding, a celebration unlike any other in Xyloran history. The ceremony was held during the next festival of Lumina, when the twin suns aligned perfectly over the capital city. Streets overflowed with joyous crowds, their faces painted with intricate designs symbolizing unity and prosperity. Lanterns floated through the air, casting shimmering reflections on crystal pavements, while musicians played melodies that seemed to harmonize with the very stars above. Xyura wore a gown crafted from threads spun with stardust, its flowing fabric adorned with constellations representing both her heritage and Elias's homeworld. Around her neck hung the amulet of Eternus, glowing softly as if affirming the purity of her heart. Elias stood beside her, resplendent in traditional Xyloran attire tailored to fit his human frame. His blue eyes sparkled with emotion as he gazed at Xyura, unable to believe how far they had come since their fateful meeting. The vows they exchanged were simple yet profound, spoken not just to each other but to all those gathered. "I promise to stand by you," Elias said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "To honor your people as my own, and to build a future where love transcends boundaries." Xyura smiled, tears glistening in her silver eyes. "And I promise to cherish you, to guide our world with wisdom and compassion, and to never let fear dictate our path." When the ceremony concluded, cheers erupted across the city, echoing into the cosmos. Fireworks exploded overhead, painting the sky with vibrant bursts of color. Amidst the festivities, Elias found himself surrounded by well-wishers, many of whom had once doubted him. "You've proven yourself worthy, Captain Drake," Elder Serene said warmly, raising a glass in toast. "May your reign bring light to even the darkest corners of our galaxy." Life after the wedding settled into a rhythm of harmony and purpose. Together, Elias and Xyura implemented reforms aimed at fostering inclusivity and innovation. They established cultural exchange programs, inviting humans and other species to share knowledge and traditions with Xylorans. Trade routes expanded, bringing prosperity to regions once isolated or neglected. Education initiatives emphasized collaboration, teaching children the value of diversity and empathy. Their personal lives flourished as well. Over the years, Xyura gave birth to 3 children, 2 daughters, Lyra and Soline, and a son, Eric. Each child inherited traits from both parents. Lyra possessed her mother's radiant beauty and intuitive abilities, while Soline exhibited her father's adventurous spirit and quick wit. Eric, the youngest, combined their strengths, showing early signs of leadership and diplomacy. The family spent countless hours exploring Xylora's wonders, from bioluminescent forests to floating islands suspended above shimmering seas. Elias taught them survival skills and shared tales of Earth's sprawling cities and untamed wilderness. Xyura introduced them to Xyloran customs, guiding them through festivals and rituals steeped in ancient wisdom. Through it all, the bond between them grew stronger, rooted in mutual respect and unconditional love. One evening, as they sat together beneath the twin moons, watching fireflies dance in the cool night air, Elias turned to Xyura with a contented smile. "Do you remember when we first met? All the chaos and uncertainty." She laughed softly, leaning her head against his shoulder. "How could I forget? You were covered in dirt and bruises, looking utterly bewildered. And yet here we are," he mused, glancing at their sleeping children nestled nearby. "A family, kingdom, a life I never imagined possible." Xyura took his hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "That's what makes it beautiful, isn't it? Finding happiness in the unexpected." Years passed, and under Elias and Xyura's rule, Xylora thrived. Its people embraced change without losing sight of their roots, creating a society that balanced tradition with innovation. The alliance between humans and Xylorans paved the way for greater cooperation across the galaxy, proving that differences could be celebrated rather than feared. When the time came for Elias and Xyura to pass the throne to their eldest daughter, Lyra, they did so with pride and confidence. Lyra, wise beyond her years and beloved by all, carried forward their legacy of unity and compassion. As retired rulers, Elias and Xyura traveled the stars, sharing their story with anyone willing to listen. Their journey served as a reminder that love, courage, and understanding could bridge even the widest chasms. And so, Elias and Xyura lived out their days in peace, surrounded by family and friends, their hearts full of gratitude for the extraordinary life they had built together. In the vast expanse of the universe, their tale became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of love to transform worlds and illuminate the darkest reaches of space.